Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee, and today we are continuing our weekly series of previewing the winter of 2016-2017. And what we're going to do is we're going to look tonight at the state of Pennsylvania, specifically eastern Pennsylvania, north to south. Last year was a complete and total anomaly in that the one blizzard really accounted for just about all of the snowfall. And I just want to freshen up everybody in terms of what is exactly normal for eastern Pennsylvania. And you can see that, you go along or just south of Route 76 in southeastern Pennsylvania, you have a pretty large band of 21 to 30 inch annual snowfall rates, probably skewing closer to the 30 than the 21. A lot of it depends on elevation, valley. Are you more closer to Philadelphia, where the numbers tend to be closer to the 21, or are you in some of the more elevated areas where the numbers are running in the low 30s? And then, of course, as you go north of Route 76, the numbers do start to skew considerably higher, 30 to 40 inches in this light blue band. And you go into northeastern Pennsylvania, once you go north of Allentown and get towards Scranton, you're talking about annual amounts of 40 to 50 inches and 50 to 60 inches as you go into the northeastern corner of the state. The amounts also increase markedly as you go from Williamsport westward, where it's, the 40 to 50 inch range, and then you get into 50, 60, 60, 70, and you get up into the northwestern corner of Pennsylvania, where lake effect is a huge deal. You start to get into normal amounts that are over 100 inches. Also, the numbers skew down in southwestern Pennsylvania around Pittsburgh, where you have the average snowfall rates running in the 20 to 30 and 30 to 40 inch range. And this is mainly because of the way the mountains are positioned here in Pennsylvania, that sometimes moisture winds up drying out as it approaches the mountains. Also, you get storms that wind up going to the west. So oftentimes you could get warm air moving into southwestern Pennsylvania, but cold air dams in eastern Pennsylvania. So it's one of those forecasting details that we have to deal with when we look at specific situations. Now, just a reminder that this was the blizzard of last year, where you can see this large area of 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and some 30-inch snowfall amounts. Mainly the snowfall was concentrated in southeastern Pennsylvania. You go up north and west, there was very little, and that was really the signature of the entire winter. This was the one big event of last winter that for many areas wound up being virtually the entire snowfall totals for the season. Maybe they got a few inches more here and there, but 95% of the snow fell in that one storm. That's unusual for it to happen. Big events do tend to skew the annual snowfall amounts higher, but if you get big events in an overall winter where it's very snowy, you still have a substantial number of snowfalls that occur from December into March. Now, I just want to look at, we've been looking at these factors on a weekly basis, so we're going to examine. First off, I want you to take a look at here in the Pacific Ocean. This is important for the long-term weather pattern across the United States. We continue to see, and this has been a multi-year phenomena in the northeastern Pacific, of warmer than normal temperatures. What this does is that it forces a ridge to build in the western parts of Canada and United States, and that creates an alleyway for cold air to come cross-polar, in other words, crossing the poles and heading down into the eastern part of the United States. That condition continues. Also, last year, this was all super warm ocean water in the Pacific because of the super El Nino. Now, that has changed, particularly in the central Pacific, where we have below normal water temperatures there, or a weak La Nina condition. Now, as long as it remains weak, it would probably be favorable for a snowier and colder winter in the east. These are all, by the way, individual factors. You can't really look at one of them and say, okay, we have warmer than normal temperatures in the Pacific, so therefore we're going to have a colder winter. No, you have to look at all these different things, and you know what? In the end, if the upper atmosphere doesn't set up correctly, you will wind up with warmer winter below normal snowfall. And that's one of the concerns that I have, is this persistent ridge in the eastern part of the United States that has created very warm and very dry conditions. We are getting a temporary break of that ridge this weekend and for the first part of next week, but it is forecast to build back up. And this has been over the long term, lasting through the summer and now going into the fall. So that ridge needs to break down to some degree in order to allow colder air masses to move into the eastern part of the United States. Just because the ridge is strong now doesn't necessarily mean it will be 2 weeks from now or 5 weeks from now or 2 months from now. These are medium-term events that we're going to look at to see if they change down the road. One of the indicators that gets some play is, and I look at it, is the Siberian snow cover. Now, this is a theory that holds that the rate of growth of snow cover across Eurasia, so Eastern Europe and Asia, during the month of October, it's the rate of growth. If the rate is high, that in the past has signaled colder and snowier winters in the eastern part of the United States. But we should caution that no indicator is 100%. And this was proven last year when the rate of snowfall growth was quite impressive and pointed to a colder and snowier winter in the east. But this was all completely trumped by the El Nino. So sometimes you could have all this going on, and if there's one particular factor that is sort of off the charts, it could wind up causing the other indicators to be basically non-factors. Right now, compared to last year, the snow cover is about where it is, so there's really no indicator here that tells us that, you know, there's nothing that we could look at this right now and say come to any sort of conclusion on it. So over the next 2 weeks, we're going to see expansive snow cover growth in this area, which would be pretty much what you would normally expect. But we'll watch to see how it expands through the month of October. So it's those days from October 1st to October 31st that are important. We're just kind of leading into that right now. So that pretty much sums it up. There is, of course, a post on ssstormchasers.com that goes over this in greater detail. So take a look at that. And, of course, you can check all the latest weather, too, on my website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. There are other videos up for New Jersey, and also I have some up talking about more about Siberian snow cover and Arctic sea ice, which can also be a factor in the longer term.